the town continues to move forward with an invalid and illegal assessment method. Does the board feel that the town has to abide by the dictates of New York State Real Property Tax Law, Section 305 and 306?
We're a volunteer board, and I have no idea, sir.
Does Mr. McCarthy have something to add?
No, I'm just enjoying myself.
What's enjoyable?
You?
Why is that?
Because you come in here, you don't give us copies, and you want copies from us.
Sir, may I be honest with you?
Yeah, I hope for honesty, absolutely.
I've been
going through this last year.
I've been doing this for roughly 30 years.
Oh my gosh, the law.
That wasn't my question. My question wasn't...
That's my answer.
Okay.
Take it or leave
You're not
it.
going to answer my question. All right.
Orfeo, man up and come out here. You're going to leave these women to do this?
I'm not going to do it. So, this is a court order. So the town's basically in contempt now.
You're just going to leave the women to take care of this, Orfeo, for you? You got the balls to come out here? Why does Orfeo have a doll of Eugene in his office? A month ago, trying to get some answers to why you haven't written refund checks that you owe the taxpayers.
Okay, you have an answer to your question?
What is the answer to the question of why you haven't paid the refund? Because what you're going to do is just escape to your office? Why do you have a doll of the supervisor in your office?
Listen, y'all, these kids want to act up in school, want to go to school and embarrass you, want to make like they got no home training. So I told my son, don't go to school embarrassing no more. I'll take care of you, son. I give you anything you want. I discipline you. But you're going to embarrass me like this? No, so now I'm going to cut his hair.
Oh, I'm going to ask you to leave, okay?
All ahead.
Hey, do me a favor, wait for the SWAT guys. Now I saw you were in a restricted area. Now I want your identification. You're not getting it.
Don't embarrass me. I told him, don't embarrass me. No.
Today's video is about Board of Assessment reviews and how the town of Orchard Park got schooled on the law and refuses to follow the court orders after getting beat in court, folks. These assessor videos are here for your education.
Hi. Good. They're having their preliminary meeting, so if you could just wait over there where the chairs are, and they're nominating their chairman, and then you guys can come in.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
We're here to expose the illegal assessment method and to give the assessment department across the state of New York oversight because they don't have any, and they damn well know it. And they all know they've been doing this illegal and unlawful assessment value method, and we're here to expose it and correct it, folks. So hit that thumbs up for accountability and education. And before we get started, let me go ahead and show you where we are on the map.
It's on. We're recording.
Alrighty. Good afternoon. The Town of Orchard Park Board of Assessment Review is hereby in session.
The first thing I want to expose about the assessment values of homes in New York State is how they assess them and how they send you an assessed value of, say, $200,000 when you know your house is worth $500,000, and they're giving you a percentage, and it's very confusing, and they do this on purpose to trick people. So let me give you an example of this gentleman who is challenging his assessment, understands it, and he brings it up.
You think your assessment should be $179?
Yeah, right around 179. I would be putting the house at 575, 600,000.
Okay, as long as we got that straight. Okay, good.
So as you can see, the assessed value is a percentage a lot lower than what your house is actually worth. So most people believe that the town is way under assessing their house and couldn't possibly get a deal by challenging their assessment. And it's a big sham to screw you and to trick you into believing that you are not overassessed. So make note of this, folks.
So we have only one app?
There's only one copy, so.
I think so, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure the power of attorney is done.
What is going on here is another hoop that Orchard Park makes its constituents jump through by making 4 copies, one for each member of the board. as opposed to them making the copies like every other town in New York State does for you. Legally, they cannot make you make 4 copies, and it's going to be an issue here today, you'll see.
All right. Next, we have for property at Holmwood Road, I believe Mr. Felano.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Afternoon. As we do the first applicant, do you solemnly swear and affirm that the information you're about to give us will be given accurately and truthfully to the best of your ability?
I do.
Thank you.
A question. Will the assessor and/or the assessor's assistant be providing testimony today, and/or have they provided any submissions to the board that I need to review?
I am just going through the file, sir.
Oh, this is irrespective of the file. Would they be offering testimony, or have they submitted any paperwork to you in the context of this hearing?
Just this one page fact sheet.
Can I see that, please?
Do you have an extra copy?
Anything submitted to the board has to be submitted to the other side. Thank you very much. Okay.
All right, you do at Homewood. Mr. Felano is representing the owner, Jared.
Yes.
And property owner's estimate of market value of $395,000 was appraised for a value of $395,000, and value of property is $395,000. Complainant believes that the assessment should be reduced to a full value of $395,000, which would be an assessed value of $152,800.
Nope. 126.4 when the equalization rate's
126.4.
applied. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, 152.8 would be the assessed value applied by the assessor.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So you may proceed with your presentation.
Yeah, I'll make a sort of a blanket observation that's going to apply to all of the properties that I have under review tonight. And it happens every year. The town continues to move forward with an invalid and illegal assessment method. Every year what the town does, because there has not been a revaluation since 1990, is they continue to reuse old assessed values. They divide it by the equalization rate, and they claim that that creates full market values. I'm going to point you to, for this particular petition, Exhibit 4, Volume 6, Opinion of Council, SBEA number 84. It's an opinion of council by New York State attorneys, dates all the way back to the 1980s, that specifically says that, quote, dividing the assessed value of each parcel of real property on an assessment roll by the assessing unit state equalization rate is not a proper means of arriving at full value within the meaning of Section 306 of the Real Property Tax Law. I had several cases that came through this board last year where this was brought up. All the petitions were denied. We ended up having to go to small claims assessment review. Every single finding was reversed at SCAR, primarily on this basis. And if I had an appraisal to back it up like I do here, that factored in as well. But I just want to point out that every year we do this song and dance where the invalid method is ignored, and every year we go to SCAR and this all gets reversed. So I'd like to stop that trend this year and just get the board's response to this. Does the board feel that the town has to abide by the dictates of New York State Office of Real Property Tax Services and the State Real Property Tax Law, Section 305 and 306?
We're given information by the state. We're a volunteer board, and the information that we're given is what we're using in our deliberation.
What does that information say respective to this element of the petition?
I have no idea, sir.
You don't know?
I have not taken the time to look it up.
Will you do that
This is
before
really
you
an
deliberate?
opportunity for you to present your additional information.
Oh, I am,
to the
but
board.
this is foundational, right?
Okay, but
we're
we're not taking questions from you. We'll ask questions and take any information you want to provide.
You're not going to take questions from me.
Yeah, we're not in a position to answer that question right now.
Why not?
So
You're making the decision on the value of this property. Why wouldn't you answer that
have some
question?
information you'd like to provide to the board in support of the paperwork.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I haven't looked at it, so
Yeah,
I
it's
can't even
Exhibit 4.
respond to it because I haven't seen it yet.
Would you like to take some time to review
That's
it?
why we asked for a copy for everyone so we can be looking at it while you're talking.
I'd like to address that as well, that requirement.
So,
If I could.
Yeah.
If
well,
I
let me
could.
just,
If I could.
no, you don't have to could, because I can see which way you're going.
Well,
You don't like anything that we...
No, I'm not saying that at all. I just want to make sure that the board is operating within the constraints of the law.
Yeah,
And
that is certainly our intention.
Yes.
I know, but...
Do you have anything you want to add in support of the paperwork you provided?
Not beyond what's been submitted, but I do want to point out that this resolution that apparently is in place that requires 5 copies and references the supporting law for that being real property tax law section 524 and 525. I have copies of those sections right here. It provides no such authority for the board to make those requirements. No such authority whatsoever. So that's another question I would ask the board, or at least ask you to consider, is repealing that. Because I'm telling you right now, that's going to result in litigation at some point. You have no legal basis for making that requirement.
Thank you.
We will look into that.
Okay, so beyond those 2 issues, we have a qualified appraisal. I want to point the board's attention to recent case law, a matter of traditional links, LLC versus Board of Assessors of Riverhead. It's a 2024 appellate division decision, very recent, and it says right there that the assessor's presumption of correctness under the law, which I imagine this board would rely on to sustain the full market and assessed value for this property, which I've already demonstrated is erroneous under the law, that is emasculated by presentation of a qualified appraisal, which we have right here. The town has no appraisal whatsoever. The town has a division problem that's been determined to be illegal by New York State since the 1980s. So at some point in time, we're going to have to do a revaluation in this town to get correct full market values. If that results in people being voted out at the board level,
So what
that's
does that
their own
have
fault.
to do with the value of the property in your assessment?
Well, it has to do with the value of the property in the assessment, because the original full market and assessed value that's on the tentative roll is erroneous and illegal, number 1. Then beyond that, we have to replace that value with the qualified appraisal. The case law requires that. So you have to
In your submittals, do you have the cases that you're citing?
Oh yeah, all these exhibits right here.
I don't have it because there's only 1 copy,
Right.
so we can't look at what you're talking
Right.
about.
So the town needs to make those copies because the town works for the taxpayer.
Oh, okay.
And beyond that, again, I'm going to point back to those sections of the RPTL that the board and the town are relying on for that requirement. This goes back to the previous assessor, the very draconian Dan Sanford. There's no legal basis for that requirement. So, and I imagine that's why we don't really have very many people here participating in B.A.R. So something's got to be done about that at some point in time. Does Mr. McCarthy have something to add?
No, I'm just enjoying myself.
What's enjoyable?
You?
Why is that?
Because you come in here, you don't give us copies, and you want copies from us.
There's no requirement under the law to do that.
Oh my gosh, the law.
Yeah.
Well, she mentioned it too. You said that the town should be making these copies. We're volunteers.
But you're right now you're working on behalf of the taxpayer, correct? In a volunteer
I'm a
capacity.
volunteer.
Yeah, but part of this volunteer process is serving the taxpayer.
Just make copies.
The point of that's part and parcel of the position, or to review them in real time right here as submitted.
You might want to just go back to the substance of the information that you want to provide that's in support of the application.
Oh, well, I did, and I was trying to. I mean, the sum and substance for this particular property is the initial full market and assessed values, they're invalid. They've been determined by an invalid assessment method. This comes up every year, gets reversed with SCAR every year. I think we should stop that process. You guys have to review the case law, take a look at the exhibits that are in there. It's very clear that this method of assessment is disallowed by New York State ORPTS. So because of that, and because of the other controlling case law, matter of traditional links here, recent case, 2024, super recent, February of this year, says right in there, assessor's presumption of correctness under the law is emasculated by presentation of a qualified appraisal that's done under the auspices of accepted appraisal techniques. I mean, unless the assessor has a counter appraisal to submit right now, or something beyond the illegal invalid division problem used to determine these values, there's really nothing more to talk about. I mean, you're laughing over there. If you disagree,
I'm paying attention to you.
I'm sure in the case, the word qualified appraisal is defined, right?
Well, I mean, it's in the submission. It's in the submission. I've got.
But in the case you're citing, they're saying that the assessor's judgment is emasculated.
Yeah.
In your case, what do they define as a qualified appraisal?
It's an appraisal that is determined using accepted appraisal techniques and a licensed appraiser. You'll see in the appraisal that's submitted, the qualifications of the appraiser is set out. He's a licensed appraiser in New York State. I mean, while we're at it, I think it'd be great for the public to hear what are the real estate valuation qualifications of the members of the board. What experience do the members of the board have valuing real estate? Can we get an answer to that question?
40 years as a commercial and residential appraiser.
Great. So would you agree or disagree based on that experience that this qualified appraisal is superior to a division?
I haven't reviewed it, sir.
Well, just as a matter of concept, would you say that an appraisal that's done by a qualified appraiser for this specific property to determine market value as the valuation date for this role is superior to taking an assessed value that goes back to 2018 and dividing it by the number 0.32? Because that's exactly how we got the full market and assessed values for this property.
An appraisal submitted in an application is just another tool to support the applicant's case.
But that wasn't the question I asked. The question I asked was conceptually.
That's my answer.
Okay.
Anything else to present to us on behalf of Jewett Holman?
For this specific property, no, that would be the sum and substance, although I will say that for the remaining properties, many of these themes carry forward.
For all of your cases, we'll be deliberating on another date, and after conclusions of deliberations, you'll be informed by mail.
Can you let me know when that date is, the date and time and location?
We haven't set it yet.
Okay. The RPTL requires you to announce that before you conclude the hearing today.
And we probably will.
Well, if you don't, it would be grounds for litigation against the town.
Sir, may I be honest with you?
Yeah, I hope for honesty, absolutely.
I've been
going through this last year.
I've been doing this for roughly 30 years. Have not injured the town in things that we have done on this board, and I continue to hope to do that.
Well, I hope so too. And the way to ensure the town is not injured is to comply with RPTL and all of its elements.
Agreed. No one here is disagreeing with you.
Good.
You know, it's awful funny. At the end of the day, when they came up with their decisions, they did disagree with redress now, and then it got overturned in court because they were wrong.
Agreed. No one here is disagreeing with you.
Good.
Okay. Next property
Thank you very much.
is Ellison Drive.
Indeed. Also for you.
I was waiting.
Do you want to hear the rest of our qualifications?
Oh yeah, I'd love
I've been a
to.
real estate attorney for over 30 years.
I've been a real estate agent for 20 years and now a licensed associate broker.
CPA for 40 years.
So how does that qualify you to value real estate?
I bring in a third-party perspective that's different from all of these
that's
people.
fair. So would anyone disagree then with any of the concepts I presented here? Do we agree that the town's got to comply with RPTL?
I think I just said that. No one on this board disagrees with your contention that we need to comply with law.
And does everyone agree that an appraisal, a qualified appraisal would be superior
No,
to a
because I want to
division
read
problem?
the case that you cited.
Well, just as a
Since it is
concept,
new.
in your professional expertise, if someone did a division problem to
Jim
determine
answered the
value-
question. An appraisal is another tool, it's another piece
He
of
didn't answer my
information.
question, did he?
He did, he
Dodged
said
my
that.
question.
No, he said the appraisal is another piece of
No,
information.
I said conceptually.
Okay, let's move on.
Is an appraisal superior to a division problem?
The answer to the question that we have is that we use an appraisal as another piece of information when we make our decision.
But that wasn't my question. My question wasn't,
That's my answer.
okay.
Take it or leave
You're not
it.
going to answer my question. All right.
All right, for Ellison Drive, and you were looking at a assessed value of the property at 217. You believe it should be reduced to 182.4.
I'm just pulling up the submission right now. Yes, we believe the assessment should be reduced to 182.4. That's correct.
And your presentation from the prior property mirrors the presentation for this.
Essentially, the same issues remain. We've got an invalid full market and assessed value based on the invalid assessment method. We have a qualified appraisal presented here that puts the value at $570,000 as of the valuation date for this role, which is July 1, 2023. And once again, we also have a matter of traditional links versus Board of Assessors of Riverhead. Again, recent decision from 2024, February of this year, that clearly states that the appraisal is now controlling. That would determine the full market value, and we would base the assessed value off of that by multiplying it by 0.32.
Who hired these appraisers?
I'm sorry?
Who hired these
They do.
appraisers?
Who hired the property owner did. And then they presented the appraisal to myself for the
Your
contract,
name is listed
for
as
the
the,
properties of this
your
hearing.
name is listed as the client in the one you just submitted.
They selected the appraiser, and then they presented the appraisal to me for the purposes of this hearing.
Who did that appraisal?
It's a Boogregul and
No, it
John
doesn't
Lascala
matter.
from On Time Realty.
It what?
It's Boogregul and John Lascala do these appraisals for On Time Realty. They're licensed appraisers that are based out of Rochester.
Did they do all the
properties statewide.
appraisals?
They did, yes.
Okay, but your individual
So all the
property
owners
owners picked the same appraisal?
They selected
Appraiser?
this firm on my recommendation, yes. Do you have questions about the qualifications or the motivations of the appraiser?
Appraisals are done for a lot of different reasons.
In the
And they're not all
context,
created equal.
oh, well, that's true, but
And we've
certainly,
been all sitting on this board long enough to know that.
and certainly we would agree, though, that an appraisal would be superior to individual property. No one has addressed the method of assessment issue yet.
It depends on the appraisal, the appraiser, what it was done for.
Here's a better question. What appraisal has the town gotten done?
We don't have one from them.
Ms. Kenlon, what appraisal has the town gotten done?
You don't-
I don't think you get to-
You direct
I
all your
do,
questions here.
I do, actually.
No, you direct the chair.
We understand your point.
If I gotta get an answer.
There is no appraisal coming from the town. That is
So they didn't do
point.
it, is the point I'm making.
That's right, that is the answer.
Okay.
We understand your point, thank you.
All right, good. So are there questions about the motivations or the quality of the
No,
appraisal presented?
I don't know, we haven't had a chance to look at it. There's one copy, so we haven't had a chance to review it
Would you
in
like to
depth.
take some time to review it?
No, we have to move along because we have a schedule.
Where's everybody else who's appearing?
And we only asked you who procured it.
15 minutes, he's up on
Okay.
Is just two?
No, there's more. I've got several more.
Look at the appraisal.
7 more?
You want to look at the appraisal?
No, there's not.
Five in total.
That's
They
just
all
not how
have
it
the same
works.
appraiser?
Why not?
Because we don't have to sit here and look at everything and give you our opinion on the appraisal. We deliberate later. If you have additional information in support of this application that you want to provide, we're happy to hear it.
It's all very clear from the brief, the appraisal, and the case law.
Okay.
Steve,
Do you have other
didn't they just
appointments?
have an opinion about your appraisal?
I think that they're trying to, I think
Are
they
you
do
going
have.
to, do you have other appointments?
Are
I've
you
got-
giving testimony?
I've got 3
Because
more.
you'll have to be sworn in if you have something.
Oh no,
to
I wasn't
add.
speaking to you guys at all.
Just a member of the public.
Do you have something to add?
No, I was talking to Steve. I wasn't talking to you guys.
Okay. Ms. Copperfield?
Thank you.
So let me just make sure we correct something. The oath you took at the beginning of the first presentation applies to all of your properties.
Oh, yeah, I understand that.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not going to bore you with the entire meeting because a lot of it is repeating. But if you think these board members on this bar are rude and out of line, make sure you leave a comment in the comment section of what you think about this. But just remember, everything they do gets overturned in court. Before we move on to the next part, let me give you a little more education on what exactly is a equalization rate. First question is, the equalization rates that you talk about, dividing by the equalization rate to get the full market value. You say this is an improper way of doing it. Can you explain the equalization rate for us just a little better?
Yeah, the equalization rate is a percentage that's applied to what the town is saying your home is worth as of a certain date. So when we're talking about assessments, the town's supposed to be determining what they think your home could have sold for as of July 1 of last year. So for 2025, they're supposed to be figuring out what your home could have sold for as of July 1, 2024. And in a town like Orchard Park, they get an equalization rate to determine with the state. So they're assessing at 30% of that full market figure. So the correct way to do this is figure out those full market values based on sales in the neighborhood or across the town, apply that 30% figure, and you get your assessment. So every year, you would assumedly see your full market value and your assessment change in tune with how things are selling across the town or across your neighborhood. In most towns, Orchard Park being one, you don't see that. You'll see homes that have had the same exact assessment since 1989, assuming they haven't made any changes to the home by the owner. What the town does every year is, instead of properly determining those full market values by going out, looking at all the sales, doing a comparative analysis between a homeowner's home versus others, instead of doing that, they just reuse the same assessment from 4 decades ago and divide it by the equalization rate, which if it's 30%, let's say you had a assessment of $200,000 when the home is worth $600,000, they're going to take that $200,000 assessment, divide it by 0.30 to manufacture, to make up a full market value. They're backing into the number. They're doing it backwards. And this keeps them from doing work. It saves them the trouble of going out and doing a real revaluation project where they revalue all the properties in the town, because politically it becomes a problem for the town. Homeowners get mad about it sometimes. And that's why you see all these issues where the full market values are wrong. Like in my neighborhood, mine was wrong when I moved here in 2021 in Orchard Park. And I've gone up and down the street now working with neighbors, getting all their assessments corrected because they've been so far off. They're off by over $100,000 or more using this ridiculous method.
So the way that we could catch, the best way to catch towns doing illegal assessments and doing the improper way would be to, if anybody in the state of New York had bought a home the closest to July 1st, July 1, if
That's
you
right.
bought a home in the last 1 or 2 years closer to July 1, and you want to know if your town is doing the illegal assessment method, is contact Redress now. He runs a company called the Tax Opposer, and his information and the company's information will be in the description. And the closest that you buy your house to July 1st, July 1, is going to tell us whether or not your town is properly assessing you, because we'll catch them dead to rights, because full market value of your house was the market you bought it at. That is the full market value. That is what it can be purchased for. So in essence, if they're using this illegal math equation, it's a way for us to bust them and bust down on their assessments and get you all a fair share at it. Orchard Park. We went to the bar. They were pretty snarky. They didn't take us serious for sure. We all just seen that on the video. And now we're going back down to the department now, because we went to B.A.R. They didn't appreciate what we said. Fought Redress now, tooth and nail, spent over $10,000 or approximately $10,000 on attorney fees, you said?
Yeah, I'm extrapolating that because I was able to foil Freedom of Information Law request, what they spent on the firm that Orchard Park used to argue against me at Small Claims Assessment Review, also called SCAR. They're paying them about $50,000 a year. So I'm just kind of extrapolating that out based on the hours that I saw the attorney put into this. Yeah, it's probably anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000 to settle or outright lose all these cases. And they do it to avoid doing this job properly in the beginning.
And this 10,000 that we're talking is approximate. We can't put an exact number on it, but approximately 7 to 10,000 we're talking. They fought to go to court to fight you against the law. They were dead right wrong by the law, and they fought it in B.A.R, they fought it in SCAR, and they paid over $7,000 to $10,000 to fight it. And now we're heading back down there because they're not paying the refund after the court ordered them to pay the refund, correct?
Yeah, the town's in contempt of court. These small claims assessment review decisions are court orders, right? And there just seems to be either just an ignorance on the part of town employees, or just, I guess, recalcitrance, like they just don't want to respect the court's authority when it comes to tax assessments. They understand that if this keeps going, where like I started with a handful of cases, it grows every year, where I'm doing 2 times more cases in the town of Orchard Park. I mean, eventually they're going to be required to do a revaluation, and they want to avoid that as much as they can.
Shut the police are here. This part of the video is when we're going back to the town hall to ask them why they are not writing the refund check that they overcharged taxpayers that the court has mandated that they pay back, and they are refusing to comply with the law. The date of this clip is April 25th, 2025.
How we doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
Good. What's going on?
Just like to talk to Ms. Kenlon if I could.
How can I help you?
Well, I just want to talk about these 2 small claims assessment review
They're
cases.
already done. We've taken care of them, and we'll process them.
Okay. I just have some other questions if I might.
Anything else, you can talk to the town attorney.
Well, he doesn't have anything to do with it.
That case is settled.
Well, there's some issues with the tax bills that are on the B.A.S. website because they don't reflect the reductions. They don't.
For last year's, prior to the settlement?
Yeah, but they apply to 2024. They apply to those tax
They will be
bills.
adjusted.
Well, when will that happen? There you go. Not interested in talking about the losses.
How much money did she lose to,
They lost these cases fully and completely. They went on for 8 months. They paid Morris Siebold, an outside attorney, probably $10,000 to argue these cases. I offered reasonable settlements 5 months ago, which they declined to not take. So they lost the cases fully, completely. They may as well have lit that 10 grand on fire that the taxpayers paid for representation for the town.
so that's why she's so mad and she's hiding in her office?
I mean, this happens every year. This has been going on for 3 years. Nothing changes.
$10,000 of the taxpayers' money just to burn it up and waste it, huh?
Yeah, it seemed that way.
Damn. And they still haven't got the refunds going, huh?
No. There's about $6,000 in past due refunds from the town that are court mandated that haven't been paid. So we want to make sure that those get paid out too. So that's going to be coming from the town clerk.
And her opinion was it's already done and it's going to get done. I'm not talking to you, huh?
Well, it just seems like this could be corrected properly on the front end by just determining legitimate full market values every year by doing a revaluation. And the town resists doing it. And so this is the result. Just a lot of wasted taxpayer time and money. And a growing, a huge group of very frustrated residents that are going to vote this year. This is an election year. And this has become an election year issue from what I hear around town. I just talked to Joe Liberti yesterday about it. And he's looking into it too. He's the Republican nominee for town supervisor. And, the incumbent, I think, has furthered this problem. And, maybe we'll get somebody new in here who's going to do something about this. So.
Well, we got to go talk to the clerk now?
We do. We have to find out what's going on with these refunds.
The assessor's not willing to help at all.
No.
She says it's already taken care of, but these people who have challenged their assessments, but the town's got it wrong, are still holding their money back, huh?
How we doing?
Hi, good. How can I help you today?
I got to talk to Mr. Orfeo about some taxpayer refunds that are past due on several small claims assessment review cases. One is still about a year old. 3 more, I think, are about 2 months old. And then we have some others that were actually just decided this week. We want to submit the paperwork for that, get those going. But, I'm just here on behalf of about 5-6 residents. They're just concerned this has taken an inordinate amount of time to get resolved.
Oh,
and they just wanted to see what's going on with it.
Okay. All right. Let me see.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Oh, yeah, he's here. I think he's got a doll made out to be the supervisor in his office. Come look at this.
It's possible.
Mr. Orfeo can't come to the counter right now.
He's too
but
busy to do his job?
He is busy doing his job.
Too busy to do his job. This is his job. I'm coming out here to answer for this.
Well,
Can I have you give me your information?
No, I'm not going to do that again. I did that last time and it took a year to get a response.
He's 20 feet away from us. He can't come talk to us for a second?
Here's the issue, and I guess we'll let the public decide.
Maybe he should resign if he can't do his job.
I guess we'll let the public decide if what he's doing is more important. He owes one taxpayer $662.04. That's outstanding since May 14th, 2024. He owes another one $1,897.69. That's outstanding since March 18th, 2025. He owes another $422.73, also outstanding since March 18th of this year. He owes another $95.90, outstanding since March 18th, 2025. You can see the trend. We got 2 decisions yesterday. He owes another taxpayer now $2,044.61. We want to make sure this doesn't take a year to resolve. And then he owes another one $1,610.59. If a taxpayer were outstanding on these amounts, even a couple days, they'd be hit with late fees, right? If they were outstanding for a year, my guess is the county would move to take their property away. I really think it'd be a good idea for him to come out here and address this. I can't imagine anything more important right now that's going on than making this situation correct.
He hasn't got 2 minutes, 5 minutes, nothing, huh?
Nope.
He's not going to come out.
Nope.
So what is he doing that's more important than rectifying this situation?
I don't oversee.
What, can you ask? Mr. Orfeo, what's going on in there that's more important than correcting this problem?
He's in the middle of a project right now, and he can't.
What is the project? Can you ask?
He's not on the phone. He can't be that busy.
Because I already asked that same question once, and he's unable to come out.
Can you ask when he might be available at some point later today to address this issue?
No, I can.
We could wait here all day.
Yeah, I mean, we've got time.
I can take your information and get back to you.
Will he get back to me today or a year from now? Because that's, again, May 14th, 2024 is the last one. That's been
She's
outstanding.
smiling because she knows it's funny.
It's
'cause
ridiculous.
It might take them a year
You
to
can
get
see
back.
how hilarious this is.
It's funny.
It's ridiculous.
I'm just here to listen to you, and I can
You're just here to buff us off.
I'm here to take your information.
You're here to, you're the one he sends out here to buff us off,
I think
huh?
the town clerk's office is here to service the public in a timely fashion, right?
And I'm
So,
willing to take your information.
but then nothing happens. You see, that's
Don't you
nothing
think they have
happens.
this information? They owe
Yeah.
all these bills.
Yeah, I mean, these have been
I'm
sent.
willing to take your information. so
He's
you
got
can
it.
get back.
He and I have had a phone conversation, which was recorded and will be released publicly, where he said, "I just haven't gotten to this. I just didn't do it."
Orfeo, man up and come out here. You're gonna leave these women to do
He's
this?
not going to do it. So this is a court order. So the town's basically in contempt now.
You're just gonna leave the women to take care of this, Orfeo, for you? You got the balls to come out here?
Sorry. No, I can help you. Sorry. I need. Sure, just give me that. Yeah.
And then what's going to happen?
I can take your information and have it.
When?
You gonna submit it to
You don't
Santa
know.
Claus or what?
It just,
He does.
we may as well just
I
take this
am
and light it on fire. Because it's as good as, you know, you just, it's comical even to the employees that work here.
I'm just here to take your information and give it to him.
That's what your job description is: take information, give it to Orfeo so he can put it in the garbage.
Sir.
Ma'am.
I mean, he can come out here and speak to us and
This is
answer for
absurd.
why he isn't paying these
This is
bills.
absurd. Yeah.
I was instructed to take your information. He's involved in a project right now.
So there was just one.
This is the end of my.
That's all they gave me. Okay.
Respectfully, I'm requesting that you
That's okay.
go in there and ask him when he
When's the
will be
electric
available
bill?
to address this very pressing issue
Not for plumbing,
at some point
for
today.
electric.
Because the town attorney's not going to do it, I can tell you that much. The assessor's not going to do it, and they're not required to do it. He, as the tax receiver, is required to address this issue. That is his job. He says tax receiver right on that door. On these tax bills, it says tax receiver. That is his job to address this. When is he going to do it?
I can't answer that question. He can answer that question, and I can take your information and he can give it.
I know, totally.
All right, we'll just come back.
It might be.
Mr. Orfeo, we'll be back later.
Okay, so I'm assuming that that's what it's for. It's not, it's my coworker's pool.
No, that's okay. I just wanted it to go in the right spot.
Yeah. I mean, I could probably grab the application, go back and grab it.
No, it's okay. Yeah.
This works.
Okay, thank you.
So you go to the Orchard Park Police next. Report this crime. That's weird. There's light down there. Seems like a fire hazard.
They're already hiding. Eugene's business card where's got a cell phone number on it.
Okay, so Gene's not, I think he's in a meeting in the building, but he's
He is
not-
in the building.
I don't know. I've been in this meeting for about an hour now.
Do you know when you might be free to speak about?
I don't have a schedule.
Okay. So here's the issue. We've got 6 different taxpayers that are due a refund from the town. I represented them in small claims assessment review hearings, and it's a total of about $6,000 that they're owed back from the town.
Obviously, the town supervisor is hiding from accountability and transparency. And I don't get it. Is the town broke? Because as of the date this video is published, this town clerk in town has still not paid back the money they owed to these taxpayers for overcharging them on the tax assessment roll by using an illegal assessment method. So as far as I'm concerned, that's theft. And the courts have ruled that they need to return it. They still haven't returned it. So this is just a show that we documented on the 25th, that we came here and spoke to the supervisor's office, the clerk's office, and the assessor's office. We got nowhere. Considering they are using an illegal assessment method and they are stealing money from the taxpayers and not refunding it, we did go to the police department and try to report this as a crime, but there really isn't much the police department can do considering it is kind of a civil matter. And the police can't exactly force an elected official to do his job. But the Orchard Park Police Department did offer to come down and try to mediate this and try to get the clerk to come out and speak to us. After showing the officer the court records showing the town should be paying up, he definitely agreed that the town is out of line.
Thank you. He's not going to come out and talk to you, huh?
What's that?
He's not going to come out and talk to you.
They're telling me he's not in the office right now. I'm not sure if he's somewhere else in the
He's
town
right
hall.
there. Or at least he was literally 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
You see the runaround.
Yeah.
Do you have a contact that you want me to reach out once
Well, they
hear
have
back
it.
from them?
I mean, they have it.
Okay.
So at this
So
point, I guess I'll just have to come back in like a week and find out what's going on, because he just, I mean, you can see, are you a resident in the town? Are you somebody? I'm not looking for your address.
You guys have to be residents to be a police officer?
There's contractual requirements.
There are some exceptions?
I'm within the contractual requirements for my residence.
Do you own a home? How about that?
Yes.
So you would see how this might be frustrating if you went through this process.
You're not filming, are you?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm taking your picture.
It took 8 months. We got a result, and you just don't get your refund for no apparent reason, even though the court is mandating it. You know, and you've got a representative who's here trying to avoid wasting more taxpayer money to sue the town to compel them to acknowledge this, right? We've already wasted enough money in litigation to get the result, and they failed, right? They lost. You know, wouldn't that frustrate you as a homeowner? Just not as an officer for Orchard Park, just as a homeowner, a guy who pays taxes.
If there's legitimacy to what you're providing, then absolutely.
Yeah, there you go.
Again, I'm not here to question the legitimacy of any paperwork.
I understand. This is just a conceptual discussion.
I'm here trying to mediate and hopefully
we
set up
appreciate
an
that.
opportunity for him to reach out to you and get the answers of what you're seeking.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it. I mean, I don't think there's a lot of officers who would do it. So we appreciate it. I guess at this point we'll just have to follow up with him and see what can be done.
Why is the flag at half staff, Steve?
I think it's at half staff because of the abuse that this town imposes on its taxpayers.
That's it, nah. The last set of clips was from April 25th. It is now May 20th. We still have not received any refund checks from the stolen money from the illegal assessment process that they stole from the taxpayers. We're going back in, fam.
Let's go talk to the town clerk first. I think he's the main target here today. Catch his ass walking around would be sweet.
How are you doing today?
Hi, can I help you?
We need to speak with Mr. Orfeo.
He is not in his office.
He's not in his office? Do you know when he might be back in his office?
I do not.
Okay. Anytime this week, maybe?
We stopped in here a month ago. We ain't got no call back, and we still ain't got that refund check that the town owes. So it's kind of crazy to think that we have to come back a month later and deal with this still. But you know, is he in today?
He is.
Is he at a meeting? He's just not around.
He's at a meeting.
Well, you guys are gonna enjoy the phone calls tomorrow because I'm publishing a story about this violation of the law, and then people are gonna redress this guy because this is ridiculous.
Yeah, we still don't have a reason why he won't release the checks. I had a conversation with the school district attorney about it, and he thought it'd be a good idea to release them, and he did it within 2 weeks. So I guess we're just sort of curious why it takes 60, 90, 365 days sometimes to get these things dispersed from Mr. Orfeo. Is there something going on with him that we're not aware of? He talked to me on a phone call March 19th of this year. He said that there's some reasons that he can't get the job done properly that he didn't want to talk about publicly. Is there some reason why he's not able to do reasonable tasks that are within his job purview? No. I mean, can you think of any reason why he wouldn't be able to get these checks out within like 30 days?
You have to talk to him. I can't answer.
Yeah. When can we do that? Because he told me on the phone that in the future he would promptly respond to my calls and emails and make time for me in the office, and it just hasn't happened. So I'm sort of stunned, and the multiple taxpayers I represent in the town who will be voting this year are also stunned about this. And there's this growing concern throughout the town, especially in these areas where the new builds are going up that are overassessed. What the heck is going on here?
Okay, again, you'd have to talk to him.
So
how do we do that?
Yeah, can we make an appointment so we can sit down with him and make sure we're here when he's available?
He makes his own appointments. I don't make appointments for him.
So at this point, basically what I'm gathering is like, he's just not willing to meet with us. Is that the basic idea? Is we're gonna be stonewalled when we come in?
Again,
There's like no way to make an appointment with him?
Like I said, I don't make his appointments.
So how can we connect with him to get an
I
appointment?
can take your information.
Didn't you do that last
Yeah,
time?
we did that last time. And I think
A month ago.
when we go back and look at the video, you're gonna see me saying, so in 30 days, we're not gonna have a reply, we're gonna have to come back, and here we are. See how this is getting kind of ridiculous?
Again, I can take your information.
Who do you think's more annoyed by this visiting, you or us? Having to come down here, are you annoyed with us, or are we annoyed with you? Who do you think is more annoyed down here? The taxpayers are pretty annoyed.
Can't answer that. I'm not annoyed.
Do you find
Sorry
this?
if I'm annoying you.
You find this amusing? Don't you find this aggravating though? Like that we have to come down here and find out why this guy's violating the law, and then he won't even come out here and speak to us, and he leaves you here to defend for this? Like, what are we supposed to do? This is where the public area where we're allowed to come. We can't schedule an appointment with the guy. You know, like
Won't
this is
respond
ridiculous.
to phone calls, won't respond to emails.
Again, I can take your information, guys, and forward it on.
Well, he has it. He has it. So maybe you can let him know we'd appreciate a response.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Town Clerk.
I think the assessor. Oh yeah, the assessor's in.
How we doing? I wanted to take a look at the assessment roll if we could.
Hi, how can I help you?
We just want to take a look at the assessment roll.
Sure. We don't have it printed, it's available on the computer.
Okay, so there's no printed version of that available for people to look at?
Correct, you can look at it through the computer. It's also available online.
Okay. I took a look at the one online and there's no assessor's oath attached to it. Could we take a look at the assessor's oath?
Sure, and it's also with the clerk.
Okay.
The clerk's unavailable though. For about a month and a half, 2 months. She's gonna have to leave the office. I like that. Where do you suppose the clerk's in a meeting at? A meeting room?
It takes a lot of meetings.
She's going to create one on Word doc right now. I like the assessor got up and says, I got this. You know, I mean, she's not going to pinch her employees on this one.
Well, you may recall that wasn't our experience last time.
No, she did hide last time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it okay to, is this my copy?
No.
Can I get a copy of it?
I don't see why not.
Cool. Is it possible to put this online with the roll?
Not standard practice that we do. Not something that's required by law.
Isn't it supposed to be attached to the roll?
Yeah, it's
By law?
RPTL requires it to be filed with the roll. So
It's filed with the roll, but that's not what's required to be online.
Well, I mean, I think it would give the public confidence that the roll is done in accordance with the RPTL. You know, they'd see that the assessors reviewed it. It just seems like from a customer service standpoint, it'd be a good idea. Does that make sense?
How often do you talk to the town clerk? Are you in communication with the town clerk on a normal basis?
Media, I really don't want to answer any questions.
Well, unfortunately, your job requires you to talk to the press and the people because of the same. But I'm asking, if you speak to him on a regular, we've been here a month ago asking why he's late on violating the law and returning a check. We still haven't got a hold of him. Do you know anything about that? When you speak to him, maybe you can remind him that he's violating the law, maybe.
I have no comment regarding that matter.
Oh, thank you.
How else can I help you?
Can you tell us how you guys determine the full market values for the assessment roll for 2025?
We don't determine full market value.
Then how do you assess the properties? How is the
By the
assessment
assessed
determined?
value, it's 30%.
And how do you determine the assessments?
We compare it to other assessments.
You compare it to other assessments?
Mhm.
So for each property, is there a comparable sales report that determines the assessment by comparing them to other properties?
Correct.
So if we were to FOIL all the comparable sales reports for all residential properties for the 2025 roll year, would we get those and it would show that these are all compared?
If there's been changes on it,
So if there's no changes made to a property, then how's the assessment determined?
if there is no change to the property, I cannot change the assessed value.
Then how are you coming up with the full market values?
I don't come up with a full market value. The
But-
full market value is something that's determined by the market.
But the assessment's derived from the full market value, right?
The assessment is compared to other properties that are assessed.
So you're saying that the assessment is not derived from the full market value, meaning what's the equalization rate for this year once again?
30%.
30%. So according to the RPTL, you should be determining legitimate full market values each year, and then 30% of that number would be the assessment, right?
Correct.
So how are you coming up with those full market values?
We do both. We do an assessment we do an analysis on the full market value, and then we also do an assessment on the assessed value, and then if the full market value is above what the assessed values are, it goes to the assessed value in order to keep them equal.
So how are you doing that though on an annual basis? Are you looking at sales? I mean, I'm sort of confused because no documentation has gone out to the town residents that a revaluation has taken place.
There is no revaluation.
Yeah. So how are the full market values being determined if you're not revaluing the property in the town?
Say that one more time.
So how are you determining full market values? I mean, if you guys aren't doing a revaluation town-wide, because one hasn't been done in about 40 years in Orchard Park.
Right.
So how are you coming up with the full market values on an annual basis?
Well, the full market value is being calculated by the equalization rate. I mean, the state determines the equalization rate. We look at level of assessment.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we're looking at properties that have not had any changes, we cannot change their assessed value.
Yeah, that's true. So would it be fair to say that every year you're reusing the assessments from the prior year if no changes have been made to the property, you're dividing it by the equalization rate, and that's how we get the full market values?
That's how the full market value is calculated on the bills, correct?
Is that how it's calculated on the assessment roll?
The assessment roll is the assessed value, not the full market value.
But there's full market values listed on that roll. How are those determined?
That's determined by the equalization rate.
So by dividing the equalization rate into the assessments, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's what's on the bills.
Yeah. It's on the assessment roll too?
What do you mean?
So on the assessment roll, there's a full market value listed for every property, and then there's an assessed value listed.
Correct.
So, I mean, there's no way for the town to get away from properly determining full market value. Section 305 of the RPTL requires that. You know that. I mean, we've been through this many times in hearings, and two of these went to a decision, and the hearing officer agreed that I was correct on that.
That is not what she agreed.
And what did she agree
I read
to?
it was because you had an appraisal, which would mean that the town would need to conduct an appraisal on every property being challenged.
Yeah.
If that is the bar, which is actually Article 7's bar level, it is not determined that a small claims hearing that the town would need to spend funds on an appraisal for each one. However, that's what your last judge determined, which means that the residents for the town of Orchard Park would need to have spent over $8,000 on appraisals in order to determine what that judge came to, which is the threshold of an Article 7, not a SCAR hearing.
No, the decision dealt with the SCAR hearing, specifically. Didn't deal with an Article 7, it dealt with the
That's
SCAR
correct.
hearing. Yeah.
And it was a SCAR hearing, which is not required to have an appraisal.
Then why did she fine for us, given that we provided a qualified appraisal? She
I
said it
don't
was more
wanna
convincing.
I don't even want to go into what would have affected her decision making.
Why not?
I can't.
Don't you
speak
think
for
it's
her.
kind of important to
don't-
understand why
I don't think
the
it's
town
the
keeps
reason why
losing?
you think.
Then why do you think?
If we're done with this conversation, do you have anything about any houses or anything else?
When's the next reval coming?
You'd have to ask somebody.
Aren't you the assessor? Aren't you
It's
the
up
one
to
who
you.
can push
It's
it?
up to you on that.
I can ask for it every year. We're up to $1 million. It will cost taxpayers for a reassessment.
That'd be
in
to
the town of Orchard Park.
That'd be to contract it out $1 million,
$1
really?
million.
How many parcels are in the town? It's like 15,000, right?
We're a little over 13,000.
So not even 15. How would it be $1 million to
Ask the
revalue
companies who do that.
13,000 properties?
It's a 3-year process.
It's a 3-year process?
It's a 3-year process. I talked to them. I literally interviewed companies.
Who did you talk to?
B.A.R.
Just B.A.R?
Correct. There's only one other company that I know of in the area that does it.
Eminger?
Yes.
Yep, they do it.
Mhm.
KW does it for the city of Buffalo. And they think it's going to cost $1 million.
$1 million.
Interesting. Do you guys...
And then maintenance every other year for about $150,000. So I don't know how much that would raise the taxes.
Is that what Amherst paid? Over $1 million?
I don't know. We'd have to...
So it's a lot. It's a major undertaking. I understand what you want to accomplish, and I understand
We just want the properties to be
justification of
valued
what
fairly.
you want to.
Yeah.
And that's what I want.
Yeah.
The thing is, I have to take everything into consideration. I do ask. As far as whatever the town wants to conduct, I will gladly do.
But you could just not certify the roll if they don't do a reval. That would force them to do it, right?
I really don't.
I mean, you're on a contract, so they can't fire you.
Yeah.
So that's exactly how you would get it done, and you would force the hand. You would have to listen. It's been 40 years since a reval. The taxpayers are owed a reval, period, and this year's the year. I'm not going to certify the roll. You can't fire me, so get the reval going. And that's how you should put your foot down as the assessor, and that would be your job.
Even with the $1 million of increase for doing it, that does not cover all the legal fees for all the challenges. So you know that people are not going to be happy with their assessment, even on year one. I mean, I can't even remember how many Cheektowaga had, hundreds.
Mm-hmm.
So right there's more legal fees. So there's a balancing act here. I know you want to make it simple and easy and cut and dry. Even when you're done with the reval, there's still going to be legal challenges.
40 years, though, man. That's a long time to wait.
Well,
I mean, I hear that.
That's what's biting this town in the ass is the 40-year wait.
I hear that response all the time, though, from towns. You know, Michael Risman, who's the school district attorney to Hodgson Russ, told me this over the phone. Well, but then people are going to challenge the assessment, and that's going to cost legal fees. But
well, it's something that has to be taken into consideration. You're talking about like discarding it. I can't discard that fact, and neither can Mr. Reisman. So in other words, like it doesn't mean that everybody's going to be happy after a reassessment.
But we don't do it to make them happy. We do it to comply with the law.
When I mean not happy, I mean
and to make everybody pay their fair share, of course.
Yeah. That part I totally understand, and that's the reason why we have the process that you are utilizing.
Mm-hmm.
If you are not happy and you believe that yours is not fair and we are not at 100% assessment, you have the ability to come in and grieve your assessment in order to determine whether or not you are being properly assessed.
So let's talk about that process, because there's a lot of hoops to jump through relative to that, right? Like, so for instance, can someone email in a Board of Assessment Review petition? Can they email that to you?
No, but they can mail it. They can walk it in.
But why is that? Why can't they just email it to you?
We need an original signature.
But why?
Because we want an original signature.
For what purpose? Right? Like, so
Because I want an original document. Why would a legal document not be something that I would want to obtain? A legal document would be an original, not a copy. Why would I not want a legal original document?
I think the reason that you want a wet signature is to disincentivize people from challenging, to make it difficult.
That doesn't disincentivize people if they can mail out their bill to pay their water bill.
That's not what I'm hearing from residents.
And that's ridiculous. We haven't had anybody object to sending us. We haven't even asked anybody nobody has asked us to email a copy in. So I'm not quite sure who you're talking to, but we haven't even had that request for our email address or one coming in.
That's because the legal notices from the town and the information on the website say we won't accept electronic copies.
Okay.
So they read it and they go,
so they know
then I'm not
ahead
gonna,
of time.
why would I
they know
request
ahead
it?
of time not to email something in, and they know that they're going to be required to either send one in the mail or to drop one off.
If someone wants to email you information about a change in the status of their property, for instance, they've made an addition to it, would you accept that information by email?
When you say they made an addition, what type of an addition?
Like any physical change to the property, like
that
they're gonna
need to talk to the building department.
But if they wanted to email you information about that, or email you information about, for instance, a senior exemption, can they email that information to you?
We do not accept. No, we need an original for that as well for our files.
Is there any information about property values or someone's property they can email into you that you can then use to update the inventory?
Uh,
Because I think it says on the town website you can email in information about your property that would change your assessment. So it seems like when it benefits the town to make updates to the inventory, you can email
When you say
things.
that, I'm not quite sure I don't know what you're referencing.
Like for instance, like I said, if I made an update to my home, let's say I renovate my kitchen, I pull a permit for that.
You pull a permit.
Yep, and I also
And
make.
you come in for that permit. You don't
Yeah.
mail it in. You come in.
But you would accept an email from a homeowner making you aware, right, that hey, in addition to filing the permit, I have made an update to my home, and that should be reflected in my assessed value.
Nobody's ever done that. Nobody has ever sat there and made an improvement and told the assessor about it.
But would you accept that
And
email?
not gotten a permit for it.
Would you accept that email though, or would you make them come in?
It's a hypothetical situation that's never existed.
Okay. Well, additional question. So we're coming in, we're filing these bar petitions in person. Isn't it true that the bar requires 5 copies to
That's
be provided?
correct, for one for each board member in
Yeah.
order to expedite the meeting. And the
Yeah.
reason for that is because when it was one copy, they literally could only discuss one case and pass the paper to each of the 5 members and wait for each one of them to read off on it before they could even sit there and discuss any issues they had or questions that they had. So in order to make the meeting just move within your 15-minute time frame, each member has one in front of them and they want to read it simultaneously in order to expedite the meeting. Otherwise, there's just not enough time.
So I do property tax challenge paperwork all across upstate New York.
Okay.
I've done it in the city of Rochester, other large cities, and I can tell you, I think I've only been in one other town that requires 5 copies to be made, and that's the town of Hamburg.
Okay.
And in these other large municipalities like Rochester that's revaluing every year, all you gotta do is file 1 copy, and the city goes ahead and makes the copies for BAR, and they have BAR.
And that's the thing. We get charged per copy on this, and I don't believe
So does the city.
And I don't believe it's the taxpayers of all. You represent one. I represent the rest.
I represent a lot of taxpayers.
You represent one taxpayer when you come into the meeting. And
I usually come in with a number of challenges,
you can come in
as
with
you're
as
aware.
many as you want. When you're talking for your 15 minutes, you're representing one taxpayer.
Right.
And the town of Orchard Park is defending the rule. And so we're defending it for the rest of the taxpayers. And I don't think it's upon them to pay for the copies for yours.
It would be the taxpayers.
When you say you have to pay per copy, what do you mean by that?
I
Like
mean that towns are charged, we don't own copy machines.
the copy machine is like rented?
Correct. It's a
And
lease.
every time you make a copy, the town's paying for that?
That's correct.
Interesting.
And we don't pay maintenance on, they take care of if it becomes obsolete, if it breaks, things like that, that's on them. But that's how we,
I think a lot of taxpayers don't realize that.
they could pay for the machines are much more expensive.
Because a lot of taxpayers look at it like, what are you talking about? We pay for the ink, we pay for the machine, and you want to charge us for extra on a foil. So I think a lot of taxpayers don't realize that.
Even if we weren't paying per copy, and let's say we had the machine itself, you would pay for the machine initially, and then you would pay for
Well, yeah, the ink, the electric,
you
all
would pay
that.
for all the things. So it's, as far as this goes, you would be winding up where the taxpayers are paying to make copies for your challenge, and we just don't feel that that's something that they should be obligated to do.
What if we engaged in some outside the box thinking? Because I know in the room where you hold BAR, there's a huge projector screen down there. What if we just took the petition and put it up on the projector screen so that all the BAR members could view it? Is that something we might be interested in doing? And then that way, you wouldn't have people having to come in here and make 5 copies, and then everybody could see what's being reviewed?
I feel as though it would be one of those things that it wouldn't be clear to read and easy to read.
How so?
Well, because, I mean, you sit there and you're talking about a lot of tiny information on a thing. You've got pictures of houses on there that you're bringing in. I just don't think it's something that would be easily read off of a monitor.
Well,
Do you have an objection? It sounds like you have an objection to supplying copies for the board members. If you want to bring one in and have one board member look at it, I mean...
So
it's not as if it won't be as efficient. They're not going to pass it around because you're not going to land in your 15-minute time. I think that it's I think that it's a just another argument for something as simple as bringing copies for each representative so that they can view it. I mean, we can sit there and we can fight about every minute little thing.
I'm not trying to have a fight.
Well,
basically, what the purpose of this today is it's almost Board of Assessment review time, right? We're trying to educate the taxpayers on the process, what goes on,
And we try to help them.
What my experience has been, what your experience has been.
There and make, if somebody has a problem with their assessment, we meet with them ahead of time. We talk to people. If they have documentation that I can justify that, you know, substantiates lowering an assessment, we do.
Okay.
So this is not something, we are not here to put an obstacle in the way of a taxpayer to having their values be what, you know, is just. So, I mean, I really wish that the process, and especially with tax advocates, was more mainstream as far as the argumentative. It seems as though you and I can't have a discussion without cameras and without accusations.
I'm not
that creates.
I'm not making any accusations.
No, but it does.
I mean, everything I've said so far. Is anything that I've said non-factual so far?
Today we're having a discussion. This is really rare. This is really rare.
So just to answer your question.
I'll tell you right now, we wouldn't be here today if the clerk over there would have applied with the law and made the check. Because we were here a month ago asking about it. The guy, he says, you know, take our information. We said, if we don't hear nothing back, we got to be back in a month. Last month when we were here and we talked to you, I will say that I thought you were a little rude and you're short with us. But today, I see a whole different Nancy. I really respect.
I really didn't think I was rude. You make me defensive. You
I'm
really
not trying
do,
to do
and
that.
I really wish that weren't the case.
I just want.
What I was trying to say is I thought I met a different Nancy today. Than I appreciate you standing up here and actually talking with us and answering some questions, because a lot of people won't. You know, a lot of people wouldn't.
I know.
And,
you have to know why.
Well, a lot of people hate cameras, and it's a new thing, and you know as well as I know, and we've had other assessors admit it, there is no oversight in the assessor process of B.A.R and all that. There's no oversight whatsoever. Nobody enforces the rules and the laws, and no
oversight. Like, what do you mean?
Well, like writing the check. You know, that's a simple oversight part. Yeah, but I'm saying, like, following the rules at B.A.R. Like, how many times have we seen that, you know, like, at other bars that they don't want to hear the law. They want to do it their way. They want to do it the way they've been doing it, type of stuff. And there's really no oversight. So we're trying to give it a little bit and try to also educate the people of the process. So, you know, like, you answering questions, not only, you know, I appreciate it, but the public will appreciate it too, because there's a lot of stuff that it's not an easy process to understand. You understand that.
I do.
And your average person doesn't even get it.
And we try to help people through the process.
And I'm not trying to be combative. I mean, basically the reason why we start recording these interactions is the first year that I came into Orchard Park and started handling challenges for people, I came in with B.A.R petition copies, and, you know, I'm accustomed to just making one copy because every other town does it that way. And there was a person in this desk right back here, all the way to the left, when I asked, would it be possible to make copies now? She said, we are not Kinko's. We're not going to make your copies.
So that's kind of a different way of saying that the taxpayers are paying for it, and we don't feel they should foot the bill.
But that's poor customer service, and that wasn't necessary to say things that way.
I almost said it today, but not as to be snarky. It's just.
But you understand.
To give like perspective of like.
That's how it comes across to a taxpayer, though. When you say we're not Kinko's,
I understand. There'd
be a better way to. If she had come up here and addressed me and said, "Sir, our view is that if we were to do that, the taxpayers would be footing the bill, and we don't think that that would be appropriate," then, you know, this would have had a completely different outcome. I may have had a conversation about that, but I wouldn't have said, okay, so basically this town is going to be a problem. That's my takeaway when I go in to file petitions and I get that type of response. Then it goes on the list. Okay, so we have to focus on this town and figure out what's going on and make sure that these people are providing better customer service in the future, complying with the real property tax law, and treating customers with respect, treating taxpayers with respect. That's really what this is all about. Some towns do a great job of that. I had a conversation with the assessor in the town of Union this year. It's in Broome County.
Okay.
We were able to settle a matter for a property that they had overvalued using the division method. It was at like 1.5 million. The gentleman bought it, recent sale, like June 14th of last year, so within weeks of the valuation date. Bought it, and I think it was like $650. We were able to settle it slightly higher than that. I did all the diligence. I interviewed, you know, the realtors. I provided, you know, the information to the assessor, and we were able to resolve it. You know, and I think that's the way that it should be.
Correct.
You know, my experience though in the town of Orchard Park though is that it's very difficult to get these resolutions because in the 5 cases we resolved amongst ourselves recently, 2 went to a decision, but the other 3 we settled. I mean, I offered you better settlements than what the town got, you know, 5 months prior. And I even checked in with you.
You mean for the 2 that she decided on?
No. For the 3 that we actually settled in the hearings, you had better settlement offers via email from me 5 months before the hearing. And the same is true for the one she decided. The town got 0. If you had settled with me, because when we're dealing with
But that's
properties.
not my, see, I'm gonna tell you one of the things that you wrote inside of your emails that I disagreed with.
Okay.
Okay. So there was something in the email that you had said, and I would love to discuss this with you on camera.
Yeah.
Okay, so you sat there and you said that having a representative, a legal representative at the SCAR hearing proved to be unnecessary.
So that was in response to the outcomes of the 2 decisions, yeah, because you got 0.
And that we shouldn't do that in the future. No,
no.
Just because
that's
you don't win does
that's not my point. That's not my point.
Okay.
My point isn't that you shouldn't have a representative there. My point is that Morris-Siebold is ineffective.
That again, I do not agree with because I.
You know who you should go with? You know who you should go with is an attorney from Gibson McCaskill, Timothy Graber. He represented Hamburg and he did a good job. He did a good job. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a representative.
Okay.
But I'm saying that Morris-Siebold is not a good representative. And I think that that's demonstrated by the outcome
Well, see, that
from
I
the
don't
decisions.
agree with because I do no because I think what was the big deciding factor was that you had an appraisal and we didn't. So I don't believe that it was Moore's ineffectiveness because I don't believe that she was, but I do believe that the 120 pages of legal documents that you throw at us the day before requires that since I'm not an attorney, that somebody...
Well, I'm not an attorney either.
That doesn't make a difference.
I think it does.
You have no, because you have an attorney who's helping also you with documents, and a SCAR hearing, which is informal, it's supposed to be
I agree.
Conversation between like people, not attorneys involved. 120 pages of legal documents. Somebody's got attorneys involved.
Just the man we're looking to see.
Looking to see.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure to see you.
Why does it take pulling teeth to get a hold of you?
But if you have any questions now, you can email them to me. If not,
Then what do we do? Wait a month and not get answers?
if you have any questions.
We were here a month ago trying to get some answers of why you haven't written refund checks that you owe the taxpayers.
Okay, you have an answer to your question?
What is the answer to the question of why you haven't paid the refund?
For those refund checks that show my clients, we're wondering when we can get those. It's been 60 days.
You know, that's what I like is you never let anyone get a word in edgewise.
Go ahead, talk.
Okay? So, if you have a question, send me an email.
I already did. Sent it this morning.
Oh, well.
There's been a lot of them sent to you over the past 60 days.
Well, thank you then.
Okay, so when do you think we can get those refund checks?
I'm not sure.
Why are you not sure?
Aren't you the one in charge of writing the
You're the one in
checks?
charge of writing the checks? It's not Nancy Kenlon's job to do it.
Because we're going to do just escape to your office? Why do you have a doll of the supervisor in your office? That's what they do. This is a rhino right here. This is a typical politic. He's going to go hide in his office like a little girl.
I thought Republicans are supposed to
Wow.
watch out for the taxpayers, not screw them over.
Wow.
This is the only town that has not dispersed the appropriate refund check for the 25 some odd clients I've had to recount.
There you have it, folks. That's your town clerk. Write him an email. That's what he wants. He wants some emails, I guess.
No further comment on that, Mr. Rufio?
As of the very date that this video was published, this town clerk refuses to write that refund check and comply with the law. He hides in his office and hides behind the women and has an utter disregard for the law and the taxpayers. This is a trash bag pile of crap. Leave your comments in the comment section what you think about this tax collector who will collect taxes using illegal assessment methods, but when the courts tell him to release the funds, he refuses to release the funds. Which leads us to, what are we going to do when the law is lawless, folks?
I just want to point out that every year we do this song and dance where the invalid method is ignored, and every year we go to SCAR and this all gets reversed.
We living in a society now where people want to record how they discipline their child. People that might get mad with this video is the people that probably already embarrassed their child. You can discipline your child in their room. Take something away from them. If they act up, well, I'm like, son, you can't play the game.
Why does Orfeo have a doll of Eugene in his office? That's strange.
Information, yeah.
Corruption cruiser rolls into town. Our public servants better not clown. Our rights respected, no backing down. Audit them all, Constitution showdown. Turn on the camera, light up the dark. Erie County fam making a mark. Power to the people, don't lose your spark. This dog will bite, not just bark. Cops scatter, they know the name. First Amendment on our side, we got no shame. Document them all, expose their games. Do it for the people, not for the fame. Turn on the camera, light up the dark. Erie County fam making a mark. Power to the people, don't lose your spark. This dog will bite, not just bark. Flexing our rights, a man with a mission. Constitution on our side, never asked for permission. Taking pictures and videos and hey, might just take a piece of public candy. Turn on the camera, light up the dark. Erie County fam making our mark. Power to the people, don't lose your spark. This dog will bite, not just bark. Here come the government dogs with their charges and cuffs, barking up the wrong tree, acting so tough. We'll FOIL requested body cams and all their reports. Brittany Penn, Berthy gonna neuter them in court. Turn on the camera, light up the dark. Erie County fam making our mark. Power to the people, don't lose your spark. This dog will bite, not just bark. Forget to like, share, and subscribe, fam. We out.
Pull the Constitution out of your pockets in here. Like that was supposed to prove something.
First Amendment, freedom of the press.
You have every right to feel. Oh, here, there. Your name is not Dan Erie County.
This isn't Erie County.
Yeah, sure it is. I'm here as Dan Erie County.
Legitimate? Maybe. Official? No.